Each NCTM meeting is filled with so many talented educators across a wide variety of backgrounds, expertise, and experience. The meeting just wouldn't be the same without contribution from every person here. In our final episode of NCTM TV, we're celebrating all the unique perspectives that make our membership so amazing. Hi, I'm Dina Baer, back for one last episode of NCTM TV. Before we all head home, we're dedicating an episode to our membership, its diversity, and all the valuable perspectives that come with that.
What we've done at this conference is basically just to set aside space and time for people to come together.
Kyndall Brown will join us to talk all about getting involved with NCTM's affinity groups.
How might there be ways that we can learn from students in thinking about their social realities to transform pedagogical practices that really do fit their needs and meet their needs?
Iris M. Carl Equity Address speaker Luis Leyva will share his vision for the future of equitable math education. Plus, we'll feature two amazing graduate programs preparing the next generation of college-level math teachers. Today may be our last episode, but you can catch up with us at any time. You can keep watching NCTM TV on screens around McCormick Place, in your room at select hotels, on the NCTM 2024 annual meeting website, and on YouTube and X, formerly known as Twitter. Plus, follow us on Instagram and TikTok for exclusive bonus content. We're starting off this year's final episode with a look back on NCTM's recent joint conference with NCTE, the National Council of Teachers of English. Susie Katt is here to share her experience with us. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about what math and English teachers can learn from one another.
In elementary, teachers are responsible for all content areas, and so when the same teacher is teaching both English or English language arts and math, and so they can come together and really think about how strategies can be implemented in both content areas, or also help each other in how to implement effective strategies in both. That might be a little bit different for math and English. So it's really a great opportunity for teachers to come together to one conference and have a shared experience.
Can you go more in depth into that kind of knowledge content sharing?
Well, there's some crossover in English and math, and even though we might not realize that. So in elementary years, we're doing a lot of things like incorporating math literature into the math classroom, or we're adding like some math language structure. So we're getting kids to talk about math, because we know if they talk about math, they're speaking and listening, they're going to learn math at a deeper level. So, and conversely, when students are reading nonfiction text, or when they're reading and comprehending or trying to problem solve in English, the math side kind of can be incorporated in that way as well.
Yeah, when you think about the math problems, right?
Yep.
Those are the ways to kind of incorporate
Absolutely.
both.
And you've got to comprehend when you read, depending on if it's a book or if it's a math problem.
So tell me, as we look to the future, how NCTM and NCTE are going to continue that collaboration and perhaps build on it.
Sure. So last year's joint conference was a success. We're planning to have another one. It was just announced last night, and it will be here in Chicago, June 16th through the 18th. And so that will be a nice collaboration again, to have more teachers come back. The feedback from last year was wonderful. Teachers were saying it was meaningful and relevant. They were inspired to go back to their buildings. Actually, and not even just teachers, but coaches. It's another great thing that administrators could come and learn with their teachers, but learn about two content areas at one conference. So that is going to be, NCTM and NCT are planning to do that and hopefully continue that conference in the future. could be some other things coming down the pike, down like webinars, podcasts, the possibilities are endless.
How does that inspiration that you get from the collaboration translate into benefits in the classroom for the student?
It kind of lights a fire, right? And so when you come to collaborate and you learn with others and you just kind of leave with this energy and this excitement about going back to your own buildings and your own contexts and districts and just trying something new, because it kind of like you feel like you have a big support group behind you, even though they might not be with you because they're still at the, and in their other districts or other areas of the country, you feel like they're cheering you on from afar.
Well, Susie, Katt, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Attending meetings like these is a fantastic way to build your network and keep up with the latest in the field. Every year, the Gates Foundation and Bank Street sponsor attendance for NCTM members to create new opportunities for educators to grow. Let's learn more about their impact.
So NCTM, we know, is the largest math network of teachers in the world. And to us, really, the collective power that comes in bringing teachers together is something that's really, really special. We just feel like if we can grow that community, if we can make that community a little more diverse, if we can bring people who haven't had the chance to come before, it will really make a difference for classrooms.
If not for the Gates Foundation's grant with Bank Street, I would not be here. I've been teaching for over 20 years, and last year was my first year. It gives me a ton of ideas on what I could do with my students. How can I bring math to life for them? In this society, kids are always wondering, well, where am I ever going to use this? When am I going to use y equals mx plus b? Being here, listening to the other teachers, the presenters, giving me different ways of presenting material and how to make those connections real for my students. Here, I'm with my people. When I speak to people about math, about what I do, they don't understand why I do what I do, how much work and effort it takes to go into just planning a lesson, trying to make the connection to the real world, trying to even get community partners involved. Like, coming here allows that to occur.
This is very important for me. When I was doing undergrad, one of my professors introduced me to the National Council for Mathematics. I had to be a member, and I couldn't come for like maybe 10 years. And last year, I had the opportunity to come to Washington, D.C. and attend my first conference. That was amazing. It gives me the exposure to learn a lot of things and also to be able to share some of the things that I do in my classroom. When I go back to Buffalo, some of the things that I learn here would be implemented in my classroom. And I believe that would be a transformation, not only for me, but for my students, because they're always looking for different ways of teaching, different ways of acquiring knowledge, and that would promote their learning in different ways.
One thing that we've really seen is teachers who we've sponsored to come here in a cohorted way have kept in touch. So they are emailing, they're sharing resources. In some cases, we've heard that they're visiting each other's classrooms. We are happy to be able to support the full experience of teachers here so that they're learning and they're going to sessions, but they're also being appreciated and treated like the wonderful humans they are. We are really committed to maintaining a strong relationship with NCTM because of, again, the collective power in numbers of teachers, administrators, leaders who see this as really kind of the place where math educators come together. To us is just incredibly important. And we are really, really excited to look ahead on how we can expand some of our work with NCTM.
An educator's background and life experience have a profound impact on the way they teach and understand math. By recognizing and understanding different perspectives, we create better classroom environments for both teachers and students. Kyndall Brown is here now to talk about affinity groups and how they foster community between NCTM members. Thank you for being here. I think the first important question to answer is, what are affinity groups?
So affinity groups are ways for people to connect with one another based upon their personal interests, their characteristics, in order to just build community, right?
And how do they go about that? What resources are available?
So what we've done at this conference is basically just to set aside space and time for people to come together. This is something really new for NCTM, and so we're just really testing the idea out and seeing how we can develop it over the next several years of the organization. Several of the other content area organizations utilize affinity groups in their annual meetings to help, like I say, build that community and also to help drive some of the goals of the organization. So we're hoping to get input and feedback from some of these affinity groups to help make the organization better.
When you talk about that idea of feedback, I'm interested in the testimonial from you because it is so new. How has it been impactful for you? And how have you seen the impact on others?
Well, we actually had our first affinity group meeting yesterday. And, it was interesting because I was working with a group of African American math educators. And there was this one woman who her district wouldn't pay for her to come, so she had to gather together all of the funds and come herself. So she didn't really know anyone else in the conference, and so it was very reassuring for her to be in a group of like-minded people. She was able to make connections with other people so that she can really have a good experience at the conference. And so that's the spirit of what it is that we want to accomplish with the affinity
So if
groups.
I'm hearing this, I'm saying I want to get involved with affinity groups. How do members do that?
Well, so when you go to the NCTM website, there is a Get Involved link that you can click on and then find more information about affinity groups. Again, this is the first time we're doing it, so the committee that put this together is going to meet after the conference to really talk about how we can move forward and perhaps find ways to engage members throughout the year in between the annual meeting.
So what do you think about the future?
Well, I think it's very promising. Again, I think that there's going to be a lot of interest, and we need to, as an organization, continue to nurture and develop them and utilize them however we can.
Sounds like it's only going to grow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For educators, it's crucial to understand and celebrate the backgrounds that inform a person's understanding of math. At Radford University, they're offering an online graduate education program that emphasizes culturally responsive math teaching. Their proven approach is a great choice for educators who want to teach dual enrollment or at the college level.
The online graduate program in mathematics education at Radford University began in 2009, and our mission is to provide mathematics teachers across the country with the credentials to teach dual enrollment in college-level mathematics courses.
In mathematics education program at Radford, we have two graduate degree programs. One is Master's in Mathematics Education, and the second is the Graduate Certificate in Mathematics.
The Master's program is a 36 credit hour program. 18 credit hours of the program concentrates on graduate level mathematics content. Those 18 hours prepare teachers to teach dual enrollment or college level math courses. The remaining 18 credit hours are focused on education courses that prepare teachers to improve their instructional practices. The certificate program is an 18 credit hour program designed for those individuals who may already hold a master's degree but don't have the necessary 18 credit hours to teach dual enrollment or college level courses. So that program consists of 6 graduate level math content courses preparing you to teach dual enrollment or college level courses.
Best practices in the math classroom are constantly evolving. Great new ideas emerge in this field day after day. And that's exactly why we need journals like MTLT to facilitate knowledge sharing and growth in math education. Joining me now is Angela Barlow, MTLT's Editor-in-Chief. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about some of the hot topics in math this year.
So a lot of what we're reading in the journal is about working with our students, connecting the mathematics that they're learning to the real world. But the big question is, whose real world, right? So there's real world problems, but if students can't connect to those, it has no meaning to them. So it's really about the students' world, what they see as relevant, and then a lot of times that leads us into talking about culturally relevant tasks, culturally relevant teaching, And then we've also had a lot of articles around how to work with our students who are multilingual learners. So students who speak English and other languages, and how to engage them in thinking mathematically, and then supporting other students in the classroom because they have a lot of knowledge to leverage as we're all learning math together.
And I know a lot of educators have talked about the idea of navigating AI in the classroom.
We have had a couple of articles. I'd love to see more articles around AI. We actually talked about it in June and thought maybe that could be a special issue. And I said, I don't want to wait until June for that special issue. So I hope that people will be willing to write about AI and submit for the journal to be published.
Speaking of those special issues, you have one coming up.
We do. So next month, October, we are releasing this year's special issue, and it's actually a celebration of the 10th year anniversary for Principles to Actions. So it reads a little bit differently than the typical issue because it's filled with stories of different people in different spaces and different districts where they started working with the ideas of Principles to Actions. So I'm really excited to get to read about these success stories that come from across the country.
And the work never stops. You've got another special issue in the works.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are very proudly releasing the focus of the next special issue, which is on mathematical belonging. And so we think about that in two different ways. One is belonging in mathematics, so seeing yourself as a doer of mathematics, if you will. But then also thinking about belonging in the mathematics community or belonging in the mathematics classroom, which is slightly different. So we're looking for writers to write how they have engaged students in a mathematical community or how they've supported students in seeing themselves as doers of mathematics. And we have a deadline of January 15th for those people who are ready to submit.
I'm sure you've piqued the interest of many attendees who say, I have an idea. So how do they submit to the journal?
So you can go to pubs.nctm.org, and there you'll see all of the journal information. If you click on MTLT's icon there, we have a lot of information for potential authors, including our author toolkit. We have submission guidelines. There are webinar recordings where you can learn more about this process. And of course, the link to submit is right there as well.
I feel like it's so helpful. It's a way to continue this conference beyond this time that we're here.
Absolutely. And in fact, we've been talking to potential authors, and in about a month, we're having an MTLT after party on Zoom. So we are looking forward to continuing that conversation as we move ahead coming out of the conference.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's important to stay on top of all the latest and greatest in the field, and that's just what MTLT is for. Online education is one area that's evolved rapidly since 2020. But what are the best practices for engaging your students through online instruction? At Sam Houston State University, their MA in Mathematics program helps tomorrow's community college math teachers prepare for virtual instruction.
Most mathematics education programs are targeted for K through 12 teachers, and rightly so. But we also have a great need for high quality community college mathematics teachers. It takes a really gifted teacher in both content and pedagogy to help students that want to move forward with their careers, but need extra help in mastering that mathematics content to get them to their goals.
One of the things that I really like about my courses is that sense of community and the sense of connection that we can develop throughout the semester. So just having students come in for student support hours, meeting with me one-on-one, I get to know them that way. And then also, just as the semesters go on, I'm still friends with those students. We still text and talk later on, continue to bounce ideas off each other and encourage one another. So I really love that aspect, just that sense of connection.
In our online program, we model for our students what a high quality online instruction looks like. We model the pedagogical tools that we know from research works in creating an active and engaging environment online.
Before we close out our final episode, we'll get to hear from one of this year's keynote speakers, Leyva. He conducts interdisciplinary research that examines how systems of power affect learning environments. Let's find out more about how to dismantle these systems in the classrooms.
There are a lot of structural influences that come into the classroom spaces, into school environments that implicate opportunities to learn mathematics for students, but particularly when we attend to issues around equity, students who are racially minoritized or marginalized across other differences. And so it's really important to think about ways that we can transform pedagogical practices to be able to cultivate identity affirming opportunities for students to ensure that they do have access to content, but also to have access to experiences of learning that are nurturing around their entire intersectional identities. We've socially constructed mathematics to be a neutral space, and so there's dominant narratives that are at play that shape students' understandings or educators' understandings that identity or systems of power have no place when we think about mathematics teaching and learning. And so when we reinforce those assumptions around neutrality, we actually disafford opportunities to really attend to the social nuances of historically marginalized students' experiences as learners. I think it's really important to be able to center the voices of students who are trying to serve in equitable ways in our classrooms, as well as their families and communities, to think about what does it mean to be supported, to think about what does it mean to hold specific identities within the mathematics classroom, but also in broader society, and then think about ways that we might have ways that have worked well as good mathematics teaching, but how might there be ways that we can learn from students in thinking about their social realities to transform pedagogical practices that really do fit their needs and meet their needs and enhance their opportunities to learn mathematics. Beyond the individual practices that you can do as a teacher, as an educator more broadly, in thinking about learning from your students, I think it's also important to think about how do we incorporate these practices in ways that are sustained and incorporated into the fabric of school systems, so that way it's not left up to individual teachers themselves. And unfortunately, what we end up seeing in school systems is that disproportionately teachers who are coming from minoritized backgrounds have the added labor of having to be engaged in these types of practices, and we're not holding all educators across identities accountable. Also, there's so many responsibilities that teachers have, and so how can we find ways that we can incorporate equity into the fabric of teacher learning opportunities, so that way it's not framed as just another thing or as an add-on to the many responsibilities that teachers have. Oftentimes mathematics unfortunately operates as a gatekeeper for students. We see this oftentimes in realities of tracking, of having access to more advanced mathematics course levels for students that have implications in terms of race and gender around who has access to that coursework, but then that also transcends P through 12 grade levels when we think about students' readiness to be able to enroll in calculus, for example, at the undergraduate level, which is oftentimes and very much used still in STEM higher education as a prerequisite to be able to major in science fields.
That brings us to the end of our final episode. It's been another great year here at the NCTM annual meeting. We've had so many fascinating interviews, we've seen so many terrific sessions, and we made it all so easy for you to look back on. You can keep watching NCTM TV on screens around McCormick Place, in your room at select hotels, on the NCTM 2024 annual meeting website, and on YouTube and X, formerly known as Twitter. Plus, follow us on Instagram and TikTok for exclusive bonus content. NCTM TV is over and done for now, but we'll see you in Atlanta next fall for NCTM 2025. I'm Dina Baer, signing off.